Hello, here we are with a hands-on comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S4, the popular successor to the Galaxy S3, against the Note 2 from Samsung, the successor to the original Galaxy Note. So let's see what makes these two devices stand out. Both are high-end devices that sit at the top of Samsung's range of mobile products. The Note 2 was the largest screen device available until recent times, where Samsung announced the Samsung Galaxy Mega with its 6.3-inch screen, but the Note 2 still remains one of the more desirable products due to the features that it has. So talking of screens, the S4 has a 4.99-inch display, which is Full HD with a resolution of 1920 by 1080 and a 441 ppi. The Note 2, on the other hand, has a 5.5-inch display with a resolution of 1280 by 720 and a pixel density of 267. So there's considerable differences between the resolution and pixel density, and when we sit them side by side like this, we can actually notice that difference. The screen on the Note 2 is still very good, but it is much clearer on the S4. Now that has advantages and disadvantages. The screen on the S4 really pops out on you, but the higher quality of the screen is the potential for more power drain on that, but we'll come back to that in a moment. The other feature that both of these have is split screen, so you can do multitasking on the device, sort of two apps open side by side. So you can see here we've got the option for multi-window switched on, and you get these different apps that you can open up side by side on the actual screen. You can do that on the S4 as well. Of course, the Note 2 is perhaps more practical because of the larger size and because of the S Pen, which we'll come back to in just a moment. So if we look at the physical size of the two units side by side, you can see how the Note 2 kind of dwarfs the S4 in many respects. It's of course longer, it's wider in terms of thickness. There's also a bit more thickness. You've got the actual differences in the materials. So on this instance, we've got a gloss white one here and black mist S4, but you can see the texture in the back cover on the S4 that you don't get on the Note 2, and even if you went for a white S4, you get this texture that you don't on the Galaxy Note. The side of the device on the Note 2 has got this sort of brushed silver affair, which you've got on the Samsung Galaxy S4 here, but it's a little bit more dulled down. It looks a little bit nicer, if we're honest, on there. So going back then to the S Pen, you'll see that on the back of the Note 2, down at the bottom here, we've got this S Pen or stylus that we can pull out from the device. It's all housed internally. Now we can pull that out, and as we do, it launches up this menu, which is optimized for the S Pen, so it gives us quick access to the things that we can want. And basically the S Pen or stylus allows us to navigate around the device like we would with our finger, but perhaps with a little bit more accuracy. So we can still scroll through all the screens, but these are where the S Pen really comes into its own, because you can go into applications such as this and you can use handwriting recognition. So it's great if you're taking notes in a meeting. It's often quicker to write by hand, and with a little bit of practice you can use the notepad on here just as quickly as a normal pen and paper solution. You can also do so much more. So you can annotate pictures. If we imagine this was a picture, I could draw an arrow and point to something. I could sketch something out. So it's something that is really useful if you're into your art for digital photography. You can use a stylus. You can get a great deal of accuracy. You've got lots of controls here that we can erase this out, and it makes for a very versatile solution, especially if you're in business and you might be I don't know, like an architect or something, you need to draw a plan out, sketch something out to show someone. Now you can get a stylus for previous Samsung devices like the S3. It's called a C Pen, which works in much the same way, but it's not really as accurate or as usable. And just to give you a demonstration, we've got the stylus of the Note 2 here. It doesn't work on the S4. It's not really optimized for it at all. So that's one massive advantage on the Note 2 that you have here for it, not to mention all these apps that's sort of been enhanced for it. It can even work in the likes of, you know, text messaging. So if we go and start a new message here, you've got the different input methods, so you can see it's working there as well, and makes for a great sort of solution. So if we pop that back in there, it's all housed nicely in the bottom of the device, so you're not going to lose it or anything like that. Now let's turn the devices over and look at the cameras on these two. So on the Galaxy S4 we have a 13 megapixel camera. On the Note 2 we have just an 8 megapixel camera, and they naturally shoot at different resolutions. So the S4 has the highest resolution of 4128 by 3096 compared to the resolution on the Note 2 of 3264 by 2448. Now it depends how much you're into your photography and how big you're actually going to enlarge them and view them. The Note 2 takes perfectly acceptable images, but the S4 is of course that bit better. There's also an array of different features that have been added to the S4 camera over and above the Galaxy Note 2, and that's because it was announced later. So if we just launch into the cameras of both these devices, and I'll try and show you what I mean. So hopefully you can see there the layout is already different. So up here we have to flip between the video recording and the dedicated camera, whereas here we've got the option on screen straight away for us. We've also got this mode button here, which allows us to select from a variety of different options on the Galaxy S4 nice and simply for the pre-configured settings. Now you can still get into that on the Note 2, or you know, those sort of settings, and you've still got a lot of control. However, the S4 has more control, and the main ones that really stand out as ones that you might want for this is the drama shot. As it says there, take multiple exposure pictures of a moving subject and merges them into one dramatic picture. Sound and shot, which takes a still as well as a series of audio to go with it, so it takes about up to 9 seconds, I believe, of actual audio. And you've got a nice array of different features there. The other big difference is if we just come out of here, we've got a little icon here which shows 2 cameras. If we press that, the S4 will now use the front-facing camera, which is here, and the rear-facing camera. And I'll just try and give you a better example of that. So there we are looking at the Note, but you'll also see us here as well. And it's called dual shot, and you can basically record an image with both cameras at the same time. We can play around with the positioning and what it looks like on the screen. So we've got an instant pick at the moment. There we go. We can have a nice little heart. You can resize it and move it about. So just to personalize your picture, that's a nice option. Not sure how many people actually use it, but you've got it there if you want. Now Samsung are likely to bring some of the features of the S4 camera to the Note 2 in a future update. How many we don't really know, or when is another consideration, but it's not impossible to bring some of them. Not all of them will be there, but it depends how much you really rely on your camera. Now, talking of the pictures and everything, they do take up a bit of memory in the 2 devices. So both come with 16 gig of memory out of the box. That's the most common one in the UK as a SIM-free device is available from clove.co.uk. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has been highly talked about as kind of having very little space available because of the OS. You get around about 9 gig out of the box available for you to use because of some of the features that you get with the S4. The Note 2 has around about 11.5. So the Note 2 is already winning there in terms of additional storage space, but this is because on the S4, if we go into the settings and go down here to my device, we've got motions and gestures, smart screen, air view. Now if you've watched any of the videos on the S4, basically you can look at the Galaxy S4 if it's playing a video. If you turn your head away, it'll stop. So that's its smart pause functionality. You can scroll through stuff using the palm of your hand by moving it over the front facing camera. And those additional features, as well as more, basically take up more space on the operating system, and it's not features that the Note 2 has, and they're unlikely to get those features in an update. Now, they're not going to be a make or break sort of scenario for you, but it may make some difference. Now, memory is one big thing. Processing power is another. Now both of these have got quad-core processors. The S4 that we have here is a 1.9 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, and the Note 2 has a 1.6 gigahertz Samsung Exynos processor. It's unlikely that you're really going to notice much difference between the two. If you put them side by side and try them really hard, you might, but basically you're going to get good performance out of the two of these. Another small enhancement on the Galaxy S4 is if we take a look at the top here, we just see this. This is an IR blaster, basically infrared. You can use the device as a remote control, which you can't do on the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 because it's hardware and software related. But if we go into this Watch On app, you can program this device to control things like your AV equipment and most specifically televisions, and change the channel. It's a nice feature, it makes it more useful and desirable, but it's not a make or break sort of feature for the device. In terms of battery life, both are actually going to give you pretty good performance, but if you're a hardcore user, then it's likely you're going to need to charge both of these at the end of the day. Now the S4 has a 2,600 milliamp hour battery, whilst the Note 2 has a 3,100 milliamp hour, but of course the bigger screen draws more power, so there's a need for a bigger battery. But thankfully Samsung have been able to put that in because there is more space within the chassis to do that. You'll notice that both of them are removable, so you can have a spare charging as well should you want it. But most of the time you will actually get a full day's use out of both of them. You can see that both have got nice removable covers, which is easy to get to. They're not fixed internal batteries, which is the case on a lot of devices these days, so that is an advantage. And of course you will have noticed there that we also have the micro SD card slots, which both devices accept cards up to 64 gigs, so there's plenty of capacity to store your memory over and above the onboard 16 gig. Another nice feature that both devices have is MHL out via the micro USB port. Now with a specific adapter, you can connect the cable to the micro USB port and then connect that to an HD television to share the content of the Note 2 or S4 screen on the HD display, and potentially share with other people in a presentation scenario at home with a movie or pictures. Now the S4 uses a newer standard of MHL, MHL2. There's no great shakes between the two of them. However, if you use the S4 with a newer adapter, what you're basically going to get is a higher refresh rate on the screen, so images appear a bit crisper. You'd have to be a bit picky to really tell the difference. And the other advantage of that is with the S4 MHL adapter, you don't need a power adapter, whereas you do when you're using the Note 2. So that's a small but good advantage if you're on the move. So all in all, there's some similarities and some key differences between the two devices. It's going to come down to your usability in the end and what you want it to do. Size is going to be the major issue. The Note 2 isn't the most practical to hold to your head, but we do more and more now via data connections and less phone calls, so it might be that you can get away with the additional size. The S4 is still a rather large device. It has a lot of functions and features that the Note 2 doesn't have. And you can get away with doing quite a lot on screen, but you don't have the added advantage of the stylus, which could be really useful for some people, especially if you like taking notes or you're in a lot of meetings. This could be a really useful productivity tool. So at the end of the day, it's going to be down to you. Price difference does come into it a little bit. At the time of recording, the Note 2 is a little bit cheaper. There's about £40 in it, but that price will soon be eroded away over time, and over the period of a 24-month contract, you do have to consider whether any price differentials are really justifiable. So I hope that's helped you sort of make your decision or consider the two devices. Be sure to check out our blog, blog.clove.co.uk, as well as our website, www.clove.co.uk. But until next time, thanks for watching.